Hello lovely lot, my name is Max and welcome back to my YouTube channel and yet another Nottingham Forest match preview. Been a while since I've been doing one of these, it feels good to be back. Forest haven't played since last week against Stoke, and I thought in the meantime we'd do some Champions League previews. They seem to have gone down pretty well, so if you haven't checked them out, go check them out on the iCard above. Today we're going to be talking about our match against second place Bournemouth in the Championship. One of the biggest games we're going to be playing this season, and I think a really good measure as to whether we're good enough to get promotion this season. Before we get into that, I just want to spend a minute, if that, talking about the Stoke game. If you're not interested in me talking about that, I'll leave the timestamp as usual on the screen, so you can just skip forward into the Bournemouth talk. So how about that Stoke game then? That was something, definitely something. Brice Samba getting sent off, I think, is going to be pretty monumental in the rest of our season, with even Hofarth probably going to be playing these 3 games that he's suspended for. It's going to be really interesting to see how the American adapts to Steve Cooper's system. And this game had pretty much everything. It had a late penalty, a late red card, a defender going in goal. Joe Worrall, you absolute legend for doing that. I do not envy you whatsoever. And obviously a late Ryan Yates equaliser, securing the point in that 2-2 draw against Stoke, in which, I mean, all bets were off when the red card happened. It could have gone either way. It could have been a draw. Obviously, that's what it ended up being. And overall, I think we should not be complaining taking a point away from this game, especially considering the fixtures we've got down the line. Okay then, so with my sort of rant about Stoke City over, I guess if you want to call it that, let's get talking about the Bournemouth game, talking about how we're going to sort of line up and how Bournemouth are doing this season. Before we do that though, don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel whilst you're down there. Turn in on notifications so you don't miss a single match preview. Again, we're so close to 300 subscribers, I can't believe I'm saying that. Felt like only yesterday we were like 150 at the beginning of the year. Absolutely mental, but genuinely your support's been mental recently. If you haven't done it yet, drop a like, subscribe down below. Let's talk about AFC Bournemouth. So this game against Bournemouth is pretty huge in the context of our season. A point would help us sort of keep pace with the playoffs, and a win would actually elevate us to 5th in the Championship table and actually keep us within contention of the automatics, especially considering Bournemouth are the team occupying what I'm going to consider the only available automatic promotion place. There is no way Fulham are not going up this season. They are just too good to be in the Championship right now. So that being said, that one automatic promotion place left over, it could really go between like ourselves, Blackburn, Bournemouth, Huddersfield and Middlesbrough sort of within the shake of that as well. So it should be interesting to see how we measure against one of the big promotion rivals we're playing this season. And that transitions nicely into how Bournemouth are actually doing this season. Now, obviously, I'm not a Bournemouth fan, I'm a Forest fan, so I can't really give you too much context on how maybe Bournemouth fans feel like they're doing, but I'm just going to sort of collate what data I could get together and sort of justify whether it's a good season or a bad season for them. Obviously, last season was pretty mixed for them, returning back down to the Championship under Jason Tyndall and then eventually under Jonathan Woodgate, who took over from the former manager, losing in the semis of the playoffs to Brentford, and then went and lost one of their best players now Danjuma, to Villarreal. So a good season in terms of getting into the playoffs, a bad season in terms of the fact that they lost their manager, they didn't get into the Premier League, and they lost probably their best player, so not ideal. They then went and appointed Scotty Parker, the former Fulham manager, who sort of yo-yoed between the Premier League with Fulham, delivering some pretty good attacking football, but defensively they were never really at it, particularly in the Premier League. That being said, they have improved slightly this season, like I've mentioned. They're currently sitting in 2nd in the Championship, having had some decent results in recent weeks, including a win against Blackburn, one of their main promotion rivals. That being said though, they have also lost to the likes of Hull City and Derby, who are relegation threatened, and were knocked out of the FA Cup by non-league Boreham Wood in the 4th round. They also come into this game in pretty mixed form, including some of those games. They have 3 wins and 2 losses in their last 5 games, and did manage to beat Forest 2-1 earlier in the season, which I suppose they'll count as something positive to take towards this. But that was during a period where everyone was beating us, so I wouldn't really read too much into that. So now we spent some time talking about what Bournemouth are this season. Let's talk a bit about what to expect from them in terms of their tactics, in terms of their key players, and just sort of a general breakdown of their side at the moment. Goals certainly haven't been hard to come by for them in the Championship this season. They're the 2nd highest scorers in the league behind Fulham, obviously, and have the 2nd highest goal scorer, I believe, in the league at the moment in Dominic Solanke with 19 goals. Bournemouth this season are a plus 1.8 shot positive team, meaning that they average 2 more shots than they concede, which is pretty decent. This is up from last season at plus 1.2, making them one of the more positive attacking teams in the Championship this season, whilst maintaining a pretty decent defensive record. And it is in defence where I would argue Bournemouth have made their biggest improvements this season, where last season they were conceding 1 goal per game. This season they're down at around 0.8, which is a considerable improvement considering the appointment of Scott Parker. This has led to them becoming one of the most controlling teams in the Championship this season. Their average possession has gone from about 55% last season to about 58% this season, which is the 4th highest in the Championship, although this could play into Forest's hands, as we'll discuss down the line. And of course, Dominic Solanke has been at the centre of absolutely everything positive for Bournemouth over the last couple of years. Definitely their biggest attacking threat in the squad at the moment, averaging around 3.6 shots per 90, which is second in the league, with 2.6 of these coming from inside the box. Again, second in the league behind Alexander Mitrovic, showing his growth and his maturity into a really decent Championship level striker since leaving Liverpool, who could potentially make that step up into the Premier League should Bournemouth be promoted this season. And even if they're not, I wouldn't be surprised if a lower Premier League side next season maybe came in and took a punt on him, because I think he's worth the risk. So now we've discussed all that, let's talk about how Bournemouth actually play on the pitch, how they sort of build their play, how they attack, and how this can maybe play into Forest's hands. As mentioned, Bournemouth are one of the more dominant teams in the Championship, averaging the 4th most possession in the league per 90. Parker is definitely the kind of manager who likes to build and maintain sustained attack through build-up, but also keep the ball high at the pitch through a strong pressing network with good pressing triggers and pressing orientations. This was seen best when he was at Fulham during their promotion campaign, where they ranked 3rd for passes per defensive action, which is the metric determining the intensity of a team's press, where they ranked 3rd behind just Barnsley and Leeds, who were 2 of the best pressing sides in the Championship at the time. And moreover, during Jason Tindall's brief spell as manager of Bournemouth last season, they too were one of the best pressing teams in the Championship, averaging a passes per defensive action metric of around 10.1, which is a little bit better than Fulham were managing the season before under Scott Parker. This to me suggests that there's really good synergy between the manager and the squad. The squad is already built to do pressing, and I think their signings have also exemplified this. And obviously their manager is someone who is notoriously a pressing coach, particularly at Championship level. The team shape is pretty fluid. They've predominantly lined up in a possession 4-3-3, although they're pretty happy to play in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1, maybe even 3 at the back here and there, but predominantly as a 4-3-3, where at Fulham beforehand, Scott Parker really showed his knowledge and his appreciation for this sort of shape. This involves them playing the ball out from the back to attack, building through the lines, and maintaining sustained and well-constructed attacks in the final third, with pretty much all of their midfielders, Marcondes, Philip Billing, Jefferson Lerma, Todd Cantwell, all being very comfortable on the ball, recycling it through the midfield, and then trying to build more attacking periods. Jefferson Lerma is the more anchor player in that midfield, just sitting in front of the back line, offering a bit more defensive stability, particularly when the fullbacks press high and wide. Although his defensive record and his disciplinary record has been pretty poor so far this season, picking up 2 red cards, including a red card a couple of weeks back against Birmingham City. Against more compact teams, particularly ones that play a narrow 5 at the back style formation, they can find it really easy to just shuttle the balls out into the wide areas, where they find so much space and are so adept at using that space to create chances. This is exemplified by the fact that they take 41% of their touches on the left-hand side, which seems to be where they're the most dominant in games. Moreover, their front 3, which they usually deploy, is also pretty fluid. This usually comprises of 3 from Dominic Solanke, Jayden Anthony, Ryan Christie and Jamal Lowe, all comfortable to play wherever they want, easily fluid around each other and taking chances created by their other forward partners. So now I want to spend some time just talking about how Forest can actually counteract this way in which Bournemouth play and how they can create chances against them. The first thing I wanted to touch on was Bournemouth's disciplinary record. They're actually pretty poor in this department, conceding the 5th most bookings in the league this season, including 63 yellow cards and 4 red cards, 2 of which have come from Jefferson Lerma, who seems to be a bit reckless when he plays for Bournemouth. I mean, we saw it in the Premier League when he was playing for them, but he's definitely a walking booking waiting to happen. This could play into Forest's hands pretty effectively. We're a team who exploit pace and the wide areas, and if we can get through, we can potentially pick up bookings from this Bournemouth team who seems to be leaking them like there's no tomorrow, and that could maybe lead to a red card, which obviously changes the dynamic of the game for us. In a more quantifiable way, Bournemouth do their best work on the ball in possession, which should give Forest ample opportunities to hit them on the transition and on the counter-attack, particularly down our right and their left, where Jadon Anthony and Jordan Zamora seem to be the weakest sort of side defensively, and we could definitely exploit that with Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson. Moreover, one of Bournemouth's greatest weaknesses, if there even really is one, is their lack of strength in the air with their aerial success. In terms of teams in the Championship, although they don't contest a lot of aerial duels, they do concede around 51% of them, only winning around 49% of them. And although the signing of Nat Phillips will surely improve this, with him being one of the more aerially dominant defenders in the Premier League last season, it still may be an avenue of interest for Forest, particularly playing Keenan Davis up front. To conclude, Bournemouth are one of the more dominant teams in the Championship this season. Their ability to recycle and maintain attacks can frustrate teams and could see Forest spending most of the game under the cosh. That being said, Forest should really play into this. I've always said that I think Forest are a squad geared to and do their best work off the ball, defending well and hitting teams high, wide and quickly on the counter-attack, especially with Brennan Johnson and Jed Spence down the right hand side. And whilst Bournemouth are a solid team defensively, they do tend to concede a lot more of their shots and goals on the counter-attack and transition, like I say, where Forest are probably at their best. Obviously the key players are probably going to be players like Dominic Solanke, Jadon Anthony, who've had really solid campaigns under Scott Parker at Bournemouth this season. I also think Todd Cantwell, if he starts for Bournemouth, could be really influential for them. He's only played 2 or 3 matches so far for them, but his ability to move the ball from point A to point B is really unrivaled in the Championship, and has shown himself to be of Premier League quality in previous seasons for Norwich. So I'm sure he'll be probably playing for a permanent move in the summer, but if not, he's definitely going to be playing out his skin with a look to get back into that Norwich team in the Championship next season. In terms of Forest, I think this is going to be a huge game for Brennan Johnson, as I feel like I'm saying every single video. His ability to attack in the channels, particularly down that right hand side, is going to be extremely important to us, especially when Zamora and Anthony get caught upfield. I think his ability to use the transition effectively, we can just play long balls down to him, and I don't really think any of Bournemouth's centre-backs will be able to keep up with him, especially out on that left-hand side where we can just play it down the channel to him and just sort of let him run onto it and create chances for us. I'm going to predict this game to probably be a draw for Forest. There'll definitely be goals, it'll be a goal draw, but I can't really see there being one side prevailing over the other just because of how solid both of them are defensively. And with the 2nd and 5th highest scoring teams in the Championship respectively this season contesting it, there's definitely going to be goals in it. I would be very surprised if there wasn't. It'll be very important for Bournemouth to maintain possession in the final third and not look to allow Forest to spree forward on the counter-attack. They also need to be a bit more conservative and a little bit more disciplined than they have done in recent weeks. And Forest should really use Keenan Davis as their outlet. He's incredibly dominant in the air for Forest, and his link-up play is actually quite underrated, I think, alongside his other attributes. And I think he's going to be really important for Forest in terms of holding play up, allowing us to get more ground on Bournemouth and then sort of attack from those sorts of positions. But it'll be interesting. He may not start. Surrey just had a really decent start to his Forest career, but I think this is probably where Forest are going to win the game, is getting the ball up to Keenan Davis and getting him and Johnson to create something for us. Well, that being said though, that is the end of yet another Nottingham Forest match preview where we take on Bournemouth on Friday night. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel whilst you are down there. And let me know whilst you're down there what you think the scoreline is going to be between Bournemouth and Forest. And also let me know, do you think Forest are going to make it into the playoffs this season? Personally, I think we're too good not to make it into the playoffs, particularly since Steve Cooper took charge. With the other teams in there, it's possibly one of the most hotly contested playoff contentions this season. You've got Middlesbrough, Huddersfield, obviously ourselves, you've got Blackburn, Bournemouth, they could all drop in their QPR, even teams as far down as Luton could make a late surge for it. Well, that being said though, thank you very much for watching. I don't normally plug it, but I do have social media. My Twitter and Instagram are linked down below. They're both at MaxDJ Goodwin if you want to follow me for match updates and for when new videos are going live. Well, that being said, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the match, enjoy your weekend. I will catch you later.